And so this is a good segue into our poetry reading. So, we love Joe gets a chance to share, multifaceted, multi-talented Joe Dinoffer. And we got to share last time. It was awesome. And again, just as somebody who has both of these poetry books, super well made, super high quality, really, just really thoughtful and well done productions. And so, Joe, would you mind sharing from one of those?
Yeah, I don't know if we'll get to a poem, but I thought from the first book of poems called The Father's Love. Yes, that's Kalindi at 13 and a half or 14. I can't
something like that
quite remember. Photo taken in Carmel, California. And she's now 29. And public congratulations. I don't know if this will get posted in 5 weeks. She's celebrating her marriage.
Woo!
Yeah, and with Josh Warren, a super special person. I'm very happy. So in the introduction, I talk about storytelling. And I was thinking, well, this applies for parenting. It's not just my story, but it applies to all parents. But also it can apply to tennis, pickleball coaches of any sport, teachers, because people are engaged more powerfully when stories are told. And that's just a common understanding and employed by so many teachers. So I'll just read from here. It's short. And this is in the introduction, again, from A Father's Love. There was a story I used to tell Kalindi when she was young. And we're talking between 2 and 5 years old at that time. That resonated powerfully with her. Although I'm not a very talkative person, you can, here you might think I am, but generally I'm not too talkative. I stuck to that one story and told it again and again with new episodes to keep her interest. This one story developed a life of its own and spanned a couple of years and beyond. Between the ages of 3 and 5, she must have heard it at least once a week and sometimes daily. The ongoing theme of the story was cooperation. What parent doesn't want their child to grow up to be cooperative, right? So since parenting is seldom taught in schools, it's my hope that this concept may help other families as well. I always joke a little bit, you have to really take the initiative to learn about parenting or relationships. They're not taught commonly in education. Here's the gist of the story. It's 3 very short paragraphs, maybe 10 sentences. Once there was a small village. Now this is the story I would tell her when she was young, where 2 little girls lived. They were both 6 years old and had loving parents. And note that I projected it to that next age for her because she was young. Obviously, this is just a sample story. Create your own. If it's about coaching, you talk about the happy tennis player who makes it on the high school team, what they had to do, and the person that doesn't make it and what they didn't do and how sorry they felt, whatever. In fact, they were both 6 years old and had loving parents. In fact, they lived next door to one another and their homes were identical, except one of the houses was happy and the other was sad. In the happy home, there were flowers in the yard and the sun was always shining through the windows with beautiful flowers. The family living inside was always smiling, laughing, and having fun. The little girl had many toys and regularly received wonderful gifts from her parents. They all cooperated with one another, making this a truly happy home. However, the sad home was very different. The flowers in the yard had died from neglect, and only weeds poked through the poor excuse for a front yard. The sky above this house was dismal and gray, emitting a continuous cold drizzle. Toys? The little girl had few toys, and those she had were old and worn. The family members argued daily, and the little girl was unhappy and cried often. It was a very sad home. Nobody cooperated with anyone. Now, after this introduction, I'd create different little sample stories daily life events, which gave opportunities for the little happy girl to cooperate with her parents, as well as describe how the sad girl would not cooperate. And I continued, our daughter got to choose which home she wanted to live in. The ongoing story was one of my parenting highlights, and my heart glowed when little Kalindi would ask me, tell me about that happy little girl, and what about the sad one? Thank goodness she chose the happy home and became a cooperative member of our family. She's been that way ever since. So whether it was this simple storytelling or just her nature, we'll never know. Cooperation was the first long word she could pronounce. Cooperation. 5 syllables, a lot for a 2-year-old, right? Yeah, and I like to think this story made a difference in all our lives. So that's the type of book it is. It's to experience, the lives of your child, the ups and downs, which are inevitable. Yeah, I'll read this one. It's Aging Past 25. It's, I believe, the last. Yeah, it's the last poem, I think. Yeah, it's fairly short, and then I'll be done. Aging Past 25. And it shows kind of the changing bodies where the external body changes as we grow, right? My daughter turned around to become a 1/4 century, but still so young. Of course, I don't age, for I am the same. Dare say different? Let's race. I'm game. Our song, still unsung. 1 minute we're young, and I blink later, and we're almost done. We just don't believe that age will treat us like everyone else. Is God cruel on purpose? No escape from old age? Don't be so black. I beg to differ. Not me. It's not going to happen to me. Quack, quack. Is it possible in this world at all to avoid the ledge from which we fall, to surprise and revise medical books without relying on past good looks, and live a little past expectations where we continue our celebrations? Yes, shouts inner self, give me a chance. The soul sings out, just watch me dance.
Awesome. That was great. Thank you, Joe.
Sharing, yeah.
And I love the story, the story on storytelling. And that is amazing. What a effective, meaningful way to communicate through narrative.